So hello and welcome everyone to this tutorial session. In this video we are going to discuss about document interlude in Python. So we start off this video by understanding what is documentation and why it is required in Python. Then we will cover some key differences between commenting and documenting. After this, we will discuss in detail what are comments in Python and how we can write comments in our Python program. In the last, we will understand how we can use the doc string in Python and write documentation related to an object. So without any further delay, let's jump on to our first topic and understand the importance of documentation. Regardless of the programming language we use, documentation is an important aspect of an program or a project. Now, a project with an application made up of several APIs that is up and running and being used by many people, but with no documentation, it would be considered as incomplete. Moreover, there will be many instances when we as a developer wanted to use a feature of a program or a project that has no documentation. So such cases will be very difficult for us because it is impossible to remember the functionality of every Python program. Now before we jump on to the implementation of documentation, let us look at a quote of the Python inventor. Now according to him, code is more often read than written. So this quote simply underlines the necessity of documentation in Python. Now here comes one more question, that what will be the difference between commenting and documenting. Let's discuss that also. So in Python, commenting can be considered as a process of describing your code. Now mostly comments are used for other developers. Now the primary target audience for comments is the maintainers and the developers. Moreover, when comments are utilized in combination within the well-written code, it enables the reader to better understand the code design and its usability, whereas documentation on the other hand is intended for the end user. It simply tells your user how to use it or how it works. Though documentation is helpful to a developer in the development process, still users are the primary target for documentation. So out of these two, let's first start with commenting and understand how we can use comments in Python. Now in Python there are two type of comments that we can use in our Python program. First is the single line comment and second is a multi-line comment. Now if I talk about single line comments, as the name specifies, a single line comment in Python will continue till the end of a line in a program, and we can initialize a single line comment in Python just by using a hash character, and after the hash character we can define our actual comment. So here we can see an example. So usually single line comments are something like this. So we start off by specifying a hash character. This will indicate the Python interpreter that this is a comment, and after the hash we put an empty space and then we write our actual comment that we want. Now single line comments are mostly utilized to provide an effective and a brief description of an expression, variable or a function. Most importantly, a single line comment in Python can be written either as a block comment or as an inline comment. So let's discuss about these as well. So a block comment in Python is simply utilized to explain the code which is followed by it. Moreover, a block comment and the code must be on the same intention level. Now let us understand the block comment using an example. So here you can see an example. So first here I have written one single line comment. So we start a single line comment by putting up a hash sign. After this we put an empty space and then we specify our comment. Now a block comment is simply a comment which is followed by some code, and the role of this comment is to explain the code which is given just below. So here I have written one comment declaring a string type message variable, and this simple comment explains what is going to happen in this line of code. In the same manner, I have put one more comment here using print function to get the value of the message variable as a result, and this comment simply explains the working of this line. So now if I execute this cell, you can see I got my result as hello from Python guides. So I got my result from this print statement. Now any comment in the Python program will not be printed out as a result. Comments basically are ignored by the Python interpreter, and the key role of these comments is to give information related to code only. After block comments, there are also inline comments. Now when we utilize a comment in the same line of code for its explanation, then it is referred as an inline comment. So for the block comment, what we were doing, we were putting the comment above the code, but in inline comments, what we generally do, we put the comment in the same line where the code is been specified. So here is my code where I have created one message variable and assigned some string value to it, and this is the comment explaining it. So declaring a string type message variable. In the same fashion, this is my code. I'm printing the message variable, and this is the comment which is explaining this code. So both code as well as comment is in the same line. So these type of comments are usually referred as inline comments. Now if I execute this cell, you can see I got this output, and this output is purely based on this print function. Comments are been ignored. Now one more important thing that we need to understand here is, so according to PEP 8, a comment in Python should always start with an uppercase letter. So here you can see in both of the example, what I am doing, I am starting the comment with an uppercase letter. However, a comment can start with a lowercase only when referring to an identifier having lowercase letter in the starting. So after single line comments, let's understand about multi-line comments in Python. So as such, Python does not provide any special option related to using multi-line comments in a program. Still, we can utilize multi-line comments using two different methods. So first method is by using the multiple hash characters, and the second method includes the use of multi-line string. So let us discuss these two methods practically one by one. So here you can see some examples. So let's first understand how we can implement multi-line comment using the multiple hashes. So while using single hash character, whenever our comment goes beyond the line, we can use another hash character for the next line, and this will act as a multi-line comment in Python. Here you can see an example where what I am doing, this is my comment using print function, and the remaining part of the comment was going in the next line. So in that next line, I'm using again hash to commenting this thing out, so the reader can read it fully using print function to get the value of the message as a result, and this will somehow act as a multi-line comment. So let us execute this. So you can see the code is executed successfully. Now there is one more method that we can use. So in that method, we can use multi-line string as a comment. Now until we do not assign a string literal to a variable, the Python interpreter will always ignore it. So we can put multi-line string value in triple quotes and make it as a multi-line comment. So here you can see I am using triple quotes, and within the triple quotes I am defining a string. Now until I don't assign this string to a variable, the Python interpreter will ignore it, and this can act as a multi-line string. So if I execute this cell, you can see there is no error. The code block gets executed successfully. Now let's move to our next topic and understand about docstring. So in Python, to write documentation related to any class, function or method, we generally utilize docstring. Now what is docstring? A docstring is just a built-in string value associated with a Python object for the documentation purpose. So docstring is simply a string value which provides some information related to an object. Now to define a docstring in Python, we used to define a string within triple quotes. Now these quotes can be single as well as double, and we need to define this string just after any function, class or method. So let us discuss an example related to it. So let us focus on this first example. Here what I have done, I have defined a function named square which takes one value x, and immediately after defining the function, what I am doing, I am using triple quotes, and within this triple quotes I have given the documentation related to this function. So this function will return the square of a given integer value. Now this is the return statement related to a function. And now what if I want to assess this docstring in Python? So we can simply assess docstring related to any object by simply using this underscore underscore doc underscore underscore method. So what I am doing, I am using a print function, and within this I have put my object name, then the dot, and then underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. Now if I execute this cell, you can see we got our docstring related to this function. Now there is one more method that we can use. So instead of using this doc method, we can use help function. So here you can see another example. The function is same and the docstring value is also same. But now instead of using doc method, what I am doing, I am using the help function, and within the help function I have defined this square function. So when I execute this cell, you can see we got our result help on function square in module main. This is the function square which takes x as an input, and this function will return the square of a given integer value. So I hope all the examples are clear now. So with this we have come to the end of this tutorial session. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.